Hello, everyone, and welcome to Luminar Coffee Break. I'm Angela Andrieux, and today I have a special guest joining me. We have Wayne Gallagher. He is an amazing bird photographer, and he's here to talk about using Luminar AI with bird photography. Hey, Wayne, so glad you're able to join us today.
Thank you for having me, Angela. Appreciate it.
You're very welcome. What do you want to share with us today?
Well, let's see. I thought we'd start off a little bit with camera settings. It always seems to be something that people ask about. From there, I'll just hit a little bit on the types of birds and kind of the things that I run into, and then we'll do a little bit of editing on the end there. It shouldn't take very long.
Awesome. Well, before I share your screen, I want to take a moment to say hello to Pat and Joseph. Thank you guys for joining us today. I'm glad to have you here. And there we go. Let me go ahead and share your screen, and you can switch over to your slideshow or whatever it is you want to show.
All right. Let's see. So right now I am in Luminar. Let me hit the catalog a little bit. So what I've got is a few photos.
Hold on just a second. Your screen that I think you have shared is actually just your browser window. So if you want to stop sharing that screen and then try resharing the whole screen or your PowerPoint.
Entire screen.
And hello, Yvonne. Glad you're able to join in today. So glad you're able to be here. And while we're getting this set up, I just want to remind you we have the chat going. If you have questions for Wayne, questions about bird photography, go ahead and pop those into the chat and I will be happy to relay those to him. Let me go ahead and let's try this again. Go back over here and unlock that. Give me a second. Sorry, guys. And we should have the right screen up now. So everybody, I can see your Luminar.
Okay. So as I talk a little bit about some of the settings in my cameras, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this, but it is a question that does seem to come up when I get my jaws moving here. I do shoot Canon 7D Mark II, and 99% of the time I have a Tamron 150 to 600 setup with it. For the way that I do my birds, I love to take bird in flight pictures. That's my passion. That's what I try to do as often as possible. The one on the screen, of course, that you're seeing is not that, but here we go. So a little bald eagle with his lunch in tow. And so basically what I do, I put this camera into multi-focus point mode. I use back button focus. I found that to be the easiest. That way I'm not pressing the shutter button ahead of time when I'm not ready. I can see when that picture comes into focus. If I do work on birds that are perched, I go to a single focus point to try and avoid as much of the branches and things that are in the way as I possibly can. The lens itself, it has an image stabilization with 3 modes to it. I use the first 2 quite exclusively. Mode 1 is basically for things that are sitting still, and mode 2 will help you keep your birds in the center and kind of help stabilize that lens as it goes through. So I do those to get everything set up. So, I have a lot of fun out there with the birds. The things that I really try to concentrate is trying to get those things in focus, try to avoid all the branches and things that we run into out there. And it does get kind of interesting at times. So as far as editing, I don't use any particular thing exclusively, but I have started really working with Luminar AI. And I'm starting to get used to how things are done. I'm still a little bit new to it, so bear with me just a little bit as I get myself back into this. Now there are some great templates in here. I'm not a template kind of guy because I've been doing this so long. I just kind of do my own thing. I kind of developed a style, and I really haven't gotten away from that. So. So basically I work on the tools from top down seems to work very well for me. So I get these enhance and go, and this is a wood duck, by the way. This is probably, as far as in North America, this is probably about the prettiest duck we have here. I really wanted to bring this one up first, mostly because of all the colors that are involved here. The water did not take on a blue color this day. It's a little bit cloudy. The sun had just come up, but it was kind of blocked a little bit. So I don't have any sky, so you can see the sky enhancer doesn't even come up on that, which is, obviously kind of cool. Composition-wise, I always like to give my birds some place to go. So I don't block them totally, but I do kind of play the rule of thirds as I work my way through here. So that leaves this guy a little bit of room to go from left to right. I have actually asked people when I cut these a little short, and they go, "Where is he going to go now?" So it does happen. Let's see. I'm kind of cloudy. I'm going to try the cloudy. So that does kind of warm us up a little bit. This is a little bit more of what I remember it looking like. The sun was bouncing off the clouds a little bit. Exposure-wise, I like to bring this one down a little bit because that bird is just was a little bright there. But I'm going to bring those shadows back up. Big thing I'm going to want to do with this guy is get into this color. And I'm going to go into the HSL on the colors and really bring up some of these beautiful colors in this duck, particularly in his head. So I'm going to push the red, excuse me, I'm working in hue. That's not where I wanted to be, my bad.
So we have a couple of comments from Jerry. He says, nice reflection. And with regard to the composition, he says, is that the rule of birds? Not rule of thirds, rule of birds?
I don't know if it's a rule, but like I say, I've kind of noticed that most of us, that at least the folks that I know, we do kind of leave the bird a little bit of room, but I do kind of, like to get them sort of centered in the screen, particularly if I don't want to lose anything, because I do love the reflection that's in the water as well. But I like that. I'll have to remember that. Jerry, I'm going to have to use that one, buddy.
That was clever.
That is clever. So basically, I'm just going to adjust, this is pretty much all to taste as far as what you do. You can see we can really kind of make these colors pop a little bit more. I'm going to go down and kind of check out these details, throw some nice detail in here. One of the things that I really concentrate on with the birds, and one of the things that I look for in bird photos is the eye sharp? It seems that just about anybody that is into bird photography and starts looking at your photographs, if they're not sharp in the eye, they're going to comment on that. And usually the comments are not bad, but they're just kind of letting you know that you kind of need to tighten that up a little bit. A lot of times that will have to do, I'm dealing with motion on most of the birds that I am taking the pictures of. And that is whether they're swimming along in the water or they're flying. The only difference is the speed. So what I really try to do is get my shutter speeds up. I kind of lock my camera into a position where it will not drop below 1/2000th of a second. And that will give me very decent photos in 99% of the cases. There are some really, really speedy birds out there that may not work. You may have to get that shutter speed up even a little bit more. I am kind of a depth of field freak, so I have a tendency to keep my camera in the aperture priority mode, but I lock the shutter speed so that it will not drop below 2000. So that pushes the ISOs pretty high, but I can usually get rid of that. That if there is noise, I can get rid of that noise. There is a denoise function here in Luminar, and I honestly, on this picture, I really don't see that is an issue, so I'm not going to worry about it too much, but You can push these and get rid of some of your luminosity and some of your color noises. And it actually does do a pretty decent job with it. So something to consider. I can't remember who said it best, but I read one time that super contrast was worth, worth the entry fee, I believe is the way it was put. And I thought that was pretty good. So again, I'm going to steal somebody else's words there, but I really, really like this super contrast. It really helps you balance out all of the things, highlights, midtones, shadows, just having to use the sliders. And it just, to me, it just gives you a lot more depth to the photo. And I think you can see how we're getting a little bit more detail into this. I still looks like there's some whites there. I'm going to hit the J key. Oh yeah, we've got some brightness there. I'm going to go back and kind of kick on that a little bit.
So Jerry would like to know, do you shoot these handheld or with a tripod?
Good question. Let's see. Most of the time, I will be handheld. However, let's see, I do handheld specifically when I know I'm going to be doing a lot of trail work. That is, I'm going to be doing a lot of walking because my tripod is big, it's heavy, it has a huge gimbal setup on it. So it really does drive a lot of weight, and carrying about 20 to 25 pounds worth of camera equipment as it is. So if I know I'm going to be trekking a lot, I won't take the tripod with me. It's usually in the car, but that's where it'll stay. If I have a place where I can set up, this location that I go and get the wood ducks is a spot that I can set up. It's relatively small. And so I will bring my tripod out there and use it. Gimbal head, if you're really going to track these things when they're moving, gimbal head is almost a must, or some type of head with some good motion to it so that you can follow them along. Okay, I'm gonna bring that, see if we can get the highlights and the whites down a little bit more here. There we go. And now we should be able to bring some of this stuff back up with the shadows and highlights. And we can bring that exposure back up just a touch. Oops.
It's tough to balance all of the shadows and highlights, especially on a bird like that that has such a wide range of tones just in the feathers. You're not even talking about the shadow on the side of the reflection, just between the white and the black feathers. That's hard to balance.
It is indeed. And I'm hoping maybe we can get a little bit more back. I know I've done, there we go, that's a little nicer. Get some of that back there. So yeah, so again, there's the beauty of the super contrast. It did bring me a lot of that back, and I got those real highlights to get back into where they go. You know, sometimes when you're putting these out online, you know, that might not be critical. If you do print, then it becomes a lot more critical. You'll really, if you're using an inkjet printer in particular, if you have some real heavy whites, what's going to happen is it's not going to lay down ink on the paper, and it really does look a little bit weird. If you have blacks that are beyond what normal black would be, that inkjet printer is going to lay down a lot of black ink, and actually it takes a very, very long time, if ever, to dry. So if you're into the printing kind of thing, you really do kind of watch your highs and lows. They can make a difference.
Very good tips.
Let's see. The only other thing I do quite a bit of is the vignettes. I like making the birds the star. And so let's feather that out just a bit. And another little nice touch, and I haven't seen this anywhere else, is this inner light that we have in Luminar. And so you can really get that, if you get that center part, and if your subject is not in the center by chance, another nice little deal here is you can choose your subject, and you can actually move that. I'll tell you what, let me get back here. I'm going to fix this so that we can see that a little bit better. Leave the inner light, bring the feather way down, bring my size way down, and I can show you how that'll. Now I can just move that. Oops, choose something. There we go. Move that over my duck a little bit better. And
the nice thing is that you can keep clicking wherever that crosshair is, and it'll keep moving the center of the vignette, so you can get it really precisely placed. And I like the process. I'm sure you've seen me do it many times, Wayne, and most people watching here, is I will make that vignette really, really dark, so you can really precisely place it, and then pull it back to where it looks natural.
There you go. Yeah, and I really enjoyed it. You can now, the choosing the subject and moving that is not unique, but that inner light, there are other ways to do that. I could mask or something else, but to have that ability right there within the tool set does make it a little bit easier, and it just another time saver that you have.
Yep. Well, just a reminder, everybody, make sure you put your comments into the chat, and I'll make sure to relay those to Wade and get those answered for you. So anything you want to know about bird photography and processing bird photos in Luminar AI, make sure you pop those into the chat pod.
So let's see, this is a snowy egret. The biggest thing I liked about this particular shot, when I grabbed it, I wasn't sure what I was going to end up with, because he was obviously very backlit by the sun. What I really like the most about it is how much of the detail in the wings we get to see, how the bone structure even is there at this particular point. So I hate clipping, but this guy came at me so fast. By the time I figured out that I needed to zoom back out a little bit, he was already gone. So it does happen. It's for me personally, it's a little bit embarrassing, because I have been doing this a long time and I know better, but he just got the better of me. It does happen.
I mean, he wasn't following instructions from you precisely?
No, the flashcards I had up, and, I had another guy over there trying to wave them one way and another, and just, he ignored the whole thing. It's just terrible.
Go figure. Birds with their own minds.
Yeah. So, and again, I don't do things much differently, just for the heck of it. Let's see what I've seen a couple of the. I'm going to hit the natural one and see what it does. Oh, that's not so worse. That did bring things out a little bit. Gave me some nice additional detail in the wing areas. Looks like a little bit of a blue tinge there. I'll see if we can't take care of that in a moment. Let's see what the light we are. A little low on the temperature. I'm going to try to move that up and see if we can. There we go. That's better. So, that gets to the heart of some of the things, as far as getting your screen calibrated in your computer really makes a difference. Again, if you're into the printing thing, your colors are not set right. When your computer talks to your printer, you could run into some issues. I do have full calibration on the system here, so just something else to consider.
What do you use? What kind of colorimeter do you use?
I use the Data Color Spider X.
Okay. I have a
And,
X-Rite Color Monkey, but yeah, highly
Yep.
recommend calibration.
And again, I'm a little more into the contrast side of things. I like a lot of contrast. So you're seeing I just kind of pull that around a little bit. I'm going to hit that J key once more just to see. I see we've got a little bit of highlights on those edges. So I'm going to first try the highlights and see if that'll take that down. There we go. That's pretty good. And maybe a little bit off the whites. And right now, what I'm seeing there, I can live with that, but we'll pop the exposure down just a tick. That's a technical term.
Right up there with smidge.
Right. And we'll bring those shadows back up a little, get that bird back and get some of that darkness back. So that little pop of white there, I don't think that's anything I'm going to worry about at that point. So I do I watch there. I'll hit that J key. If you just hit the J key, you'll get the highlights and the shadows that are going on. Also, I always keep the histogram up on the screen just to kind of give me a feel for what's going on as well. So I'm not having to go back and forth a lot. Structure here looks really good. Looked better than it did before. And when you do use a template, all these little dots on the edge here, I mean, in case you're not familiar with it, those will tell you that those are things that have been changed by the template. So I always, when I do use a template, those are things that I will do. I'm going to run down these ones that have been used and just kind of see what they did to the photo, so I know what I'm dealing with if I feel like I need to make some changes. Wow.
The template you chose did a really nice job. I think, it needed that bit of refinement to, using your shadows and highlights, but that template did a great job.
I think it did a really decent job too. I'm pleasantly surprised with that, but and I'm going to try and throw just a little bit of noise in here. It's not horrible. It's understandable. I would bet that when I get done here, we'll take a look and see what we're dealing with as far as ISOs and such are concerned. And, we're getting rid of a little bit of that. It's not horrible when I get back to standard size. It seems to have cleaned it up a touch anyway. So let's just go back to the catalog. So let's see, 1/2500th of a second at f6.3. So
it's like what, an ISO 1000 or 1600? I can't quite tell.
Yeah, 1000.
Okay.
ISO 1000. So that's not a terrible ISO. It's going to bring you a little bit of noise. And we're still updating right now. But again, in order to get those shutter speeds that you need, this guy was coming across pretty fast. I'm working at 600 millimeter. So, you're pretty magnified on that. And so, they're gonna come across. It can be really quick, and it doesn't take too much of you not being fast enough or them being too fast to have them slide across that sensor just a little bit. But again, looking at the eye and everything here, the detail in this is pretty decent. So I think we did stop the action pretty well.
There's a question in the chat from Andrew. Okay. He says he would like to see a little bit more use of the templates. I just want to mention, Andrew, tomorrow, make sure you tune in for our Friday show. We're going to be covering some back to basics topics, and we're going to talk a lot about templates. So if you'd like to learn more about that subject, tomorrow will be a great show to attend.
Very good.
All right.
So, and the nice thing, the one thing that I did also want to point out here, this is one of my recent favorites.
See, I saw that in
And
the
this is,
grid there, and I was hoping you were going to click on it. I like that one.
oh, thank you. And this is all Luminar AI as far as the editing goes. The sun was just coming in. He had been diving. Some birds that do dive, for whatever reason, nature didn't give them waterproof feathers, so they have to come up and dry them out. So he's got his clothesline out, and he's just taking care of the feathers. But it was a really nice set with the way the light was and everything.
I think you did a really fabulous job of balancing exposure, because you have all of that light water behind him, but yet you didn't fully silhouette him, and you've got great detail in his dark feathers. That took a bit of work, I'm sure.
It did take a little bit, but the nice thing is I did an exposure there where I took everything into consideration as far as the metering on the camera goes. There are some circumstances, particularly with white birds, that I will use a spot metering. I believe on this one, actually, I didn't use matrix. I used center weighted. So it would give a little bit more of the metering to the center of the picture rather than the edges. So those metering things can come in handy as you get used to it. It's hard because I don't know the skill levels of the folks that I'm dealing with. So, I may be talking about stuff where they're already very proficient in that, and it's just a reminder in case I have students that remind me of things that I've forgotten over the years, to be honest. So, but one of the things about this is a double-crested cormorant. It is a diving bird. It is an excellent fishing bird, absolutely amazing. You can see the little hook on its beak. He's ready, and once they've got one nabbed and anywhere near their neck on the way down, it's pretty much over. The fish is lunch. And I just love their beautiful eye too. That's always like to bring that out of these guys.
Well, you've got the color of the eye actually, like, it ties in nicely to the color of the water on the left of the screen as well. It's beautifully balanced, and so you have that color of the eye, it ties in with the blue on the left, and then the color of his face and out to his beak works so well with the colors on the right in the water. It's beautiful. And then we have a question or comment from Rocky. Okay. He just got here and saw the picture of the first duck and said it looked amazing and was wondering if he could take a look at it again. He wanted to go back to the wood duck.
The wood duck.
Maybe just do a quick before and after, because I know you worked a lot with the tone. We did some with the white balance. So it was just...
Okay.
Yeah, let's just take a quick look at the before and after. Use that visibility icon in the upper right.
You're going to have to remind me.
Up in on the very top toolbar, the little eyeball icon towards the right. There we go. There. Yep.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You just have to hold it down to get the before. So hopefully, Rocky, that shows you what you're looking for. And this is recorded. So after we finish recording, the recording will be available to rewatch. So you can learn a little bit more about what Wayne did to make that process happen. It is a gorgeous photo.
Well, he's a gorgeous bird. So
I love
he makes it easy.
They do. They're so neat, and they always impress me. Like, especially the females, they're so small and so delicate looking. They're such beautiful birds.
Yeah, and the real beauty here is where I happen to reside. I'm very close to an area that I can go to where I find these guys, which is where this one was taken. And it is a relatively small pond, and it's really easy to get close. It's unfortunately, I'm a bit of a naturalist, so One of the things is, these guys go out, they should be foraging for themselves and all the rest of it. There are a lot of folks that feed them, unfortunately. And so basically, as soon as you walk up, they just kind of start coming over. And it almost seems unfair. But, the way they look, it's worth it.
Near us.
Yeah, and I understand it. It's just, they certainly are beautiful, beautiful birds. The thing that I was going to say also is, the way that I set up my camera, you folks may already, some of you out there may already have everything set up the way you want, and that's cool. I'm not trying to talk you into it. The other thing is that if I take a wide variety of subjects. I do the wood ducks. You can see here, I've got a deer just on his way over the fence. Once you get your camera set up for birds in flight, motion in and of itself is pretty much taken care of for the most part. Whether it comes down to somebody flying or somebody running, you're pretty much set up to capture the whole deal.
Now, if I remember correctly from when you spoke with us for Insiders, you said you have your custom functions set up on your camera, one of them for birds who are perched and one for birds that are in motion?
Right. So cool. So basically in the Canons, there's three things that you can set. You do all your settings and then you save them to these I can't even remember what they call it now, but it's a C1, C2, C3 on the dial. And so for perched birds, I have it at C3, which is the very end of the dial. And the reason I've done that is when I'm walking around, I always walk around with my camera in the C2 mode. And that is all set up for flying, so that if something comes out of nowhere that I wasn't expecting, all I have to do is take it from my hip, bring it up, and focus and fire. And if I come across something that's perched, then basically it's reach down, hit that dial, move it to C3, and because it's the end of the dial, it's one click, but I know I'm there because it's not going to go any further. And again, then I'm take it up off the hip and fire away. So that's pretty much how I have those set up. C1 is a spare. I haven't done anything with that because this camera is pretty much my wildlife camera. So
yeah, I want to encourage folks. I think most brands of cameras have custom functions that you can set up of some variety. And I've found over the last few years that those are just absolutely invaluable. Whether you have 2 custom functions or 3, take a look at the couple of types of things that you like to do and that take a few moments to set up on the fly. Get those settings dialed in so you can quickly switch to those modes. For me, I have my custom 1, 2, and 3. I have one set up for bracketing 3 shots. I have 2 set up for bracketing 5, so if I'm on a tripod. And I have 3 set up for motion. So if I'm out walking around in a park and I happen to walk by the skate park and I see somebody doing some really cool tricks, I can flip it over to C3 and I'm set up to track motion and can get some of those really fast shots. And then if I want to switch back to doing some more landscape HDR stuff, I can quickly switch back to those others. So just think about what you like to shoot and pick a couple of those sets of settings and get those dialed in. You can always modify them once you change to that setting, but it's such a huge time saver. So I love that option. All right. Did you have anything else you wanted to show us today, Wayne?
Again, not too much. This is again just another shot of something moving, and this guy was really, he was hauling butt. I did not get set up as quickly as I wanted to, and I was running a little bit slow. It was very, very late in the afternoon, almost sunset. Got a little bit lucky with the 1/500th, and it got most of him focused up. So, but this is a coyote. He was on his way home. There were, I think, somewhere between 60 and 70 photographers who had set up for a barn owl that we heard was in the area. We don't get to see those very often. And he walked up and looked around, and I mean, he just had this look of surprise on his face, and he kept trying to figure out how he's going to get past all these people. So,
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, then he just at one point just flat out decided he had it all figured out and took off. So I was lucky enough to get a couple of decent shots. Yeah. So.
Well, awesome.
Yeah. So thank you again for the opportunity, and folks, I hope I at least provided you some decent information, and yeah.
Well, you did a great job. I really enjoyed it, and based on the comments, lots of thank yous and beautiful birds. And if you guys like this episode, make sure you give us a thumbs up here on YouTube. We love seeing that. Our producers love seeing that. And let us know in the comments below if you have other topics that you'd like to learn more about. We are trying to bring on more guests to cover more things that, I'm not a bird photographer. I do photograph a few birds, but nowhere near as good as this guy. So I'm happy to bring on guests that have an area of expertise that I don't have and share that with you, because we're all just here to get more into photography. So with that, I want to wish you a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you for spending some time with us, and we will see you next time. Bye, everyone.